Okay guys, so welcome back. We are not behind the desk, not in our usual positions.
We're behind a desk.
A desk, not the usual one. So today we're actually going to take our first deep dive into gears. So we've had the system now for a little bit of time. We've not really had the opportunity yet to dive in as much as we would like to, but we're sort of committed. As there's not too much to talk about on the product front.
Not as many new releases this time of year, is there?
This time of the summer, everyone's kind of more focused on their games and getting out and playing. True. Rightly so, it's the way it should be.
Yep.
And sort of you being the same way.
Absolutely, yeah.
But interestingly, you haven't. Well, it's interesting for me. I thought you would have played more and competed more this summer, but you've not. You've actually been working on your swing more, trying to develop more.
I think when the spring arrived, I expected, well, I should probably preface that. I was swinging quite well and was intending to play more until I hurt my neck. Right. And I think that kind of derailed the early part of the spring because I was working out a lot and I felt like I was in a good spot. Yeah. And by the time that recovered, which took like 2-3 months, I felt like I almost regressed to the point where now I feel like I need to catch back up with my ball striking. So that's probably the reason why I didn't end up
and you hear that all the time, people coming back from injuries. Remember when Ernie slipped on that boat? And,
that's right.
You know, and he injured himself and you know, he trying to come back and, you know, the process of you know, swinging freely again and trusting your swing and all that sort of stuff. And you know, a lot of you guys will be watching this going, we didn't see it, you know, we thought Matt was swinging quite good, but
it's different to be in here where you can get in a groove, and I think being outdoors where there's more consequence, I think I didn't have the same confidence that I had ending last year.
Right.
So yeah, there's some stuff I want to work on that we're gonna 3D analyze.
Yeah. So when we're looking at your numbers on GC Quad, we can see things are in a reasonable spot, but this is different. This is capturing your swing in sort of full 3D motion here, where we can look at the movement of the club, the movement of the body in a much more detailed fashion, which is exactly what we've done today. Yeah,
so we've started with, I mean, the club analysis alone is so, I mean, in-depth, I guess would be the word I would use. Yeah, we haven't put on the full suit yet, which has something like 25 sensors, something like that. So the club itself has 14. I'll show a picture of that now. And the amount of stuff that it's showing you that you can't get from video analysis or even from Quad is quite amazing to see what you can learn from this.
Right. So why don't you give us a little run? You had a lesson over the weekend with Larry. You know, and you get regular lessons as I do. And what were you guys working on, and how does that lead us into this?
So what we have been working on for months, I guess, and this is really just a different way of going about it, is I always have tended to kind of get to the top of my swing a little more inside than I want to be, steepen my plane in the downswing. So although I think I'm still from the inside, well, we know because we'll check it on Quad. Although I am still coming from the inside, there's almost like a bit of a momentum that carries me this way.
Well, let's just segue into that, because
this is the standard swing that we captured first.
This is something that we talk about a lot in sort of video capture, standard video capture. If somebody was to look at your swing right here, they'll go, okay, I'm just going to get this going up. So they go, okay, Matt takes the club nicely inside on the backswing, and he is over the top. Yeah. Right? So the club is coming above the backswing plane.
For sure it is, yeah.
We know that that's not the case. We know we've measured you on. In actual fact, for me, when I look at your swing and the things that you're working on, you have gotten into the point of doing what you do because you're too much from the inside, right? Yes, so you've sort of developed this motion where the body, so the right shoulder sort of gets down, gets ahead, and that's what kind of gets the club a little bit out of sync.
Yeah, and if you look at a face on, there's a bit of that exact motion in transition.
Correct.
Hands are coming down fast.
And to go deeper in this, we'll use the body sensors on you more in the future, so we can see that marker. But for today, as we sort of, as a couple of rookies, navigate our way through this, we're going to start with sort of this, just tracking just the club alone.
Club head and shaft angle and everything. It does track a lot of stuff.
Well, let's just kind of go over and see, you know, we'll show you guys. So we captured 4 swings with each. You can see really neat little sort of shaded visualization here on the strike point. So we've done 4 swings with the
drill
move you've been working on with
Larry.
We'll
talk about in a second,
and then obviously 4 with just your standard.
Just hitting it, yeah.
And very interesting for us to see the numbers were quite dramatically different. Some of the stuff I'm curious about is how can we influence the swing to move differently by giving you different golf clubs.
And that's what we'll start to, and this is obviously making everyone's head spin, ours included, but you can see this bar just keeps going and going. Yeah. There's some serious shaft torque and deflection numbers that are going to be really interesting.
Well, some really interesting. I'm looking over in the left there at grip roll. And
grip roll was rotation of the head, I guess, on that axis.
Because one of the things I said to you prior to us, turning the camera on here is, what was it that you were actually trying to, other than just make your swing mechanics more robust, less time independent, all those sorts of things. What was the ultimate goal in doing this?
So that part of that, I guess what you just mentioned, would be face control, consistency.
Yeah.
I do get the issue where sometimes I deliver way open, sometimes a little closed.
Right.
And when I am moving in this kind of direction, I think there's a lot of manipulation that goes on close to impact to sort of go, oh crap, like which is it this time? Which is it going to be?
Good.
So we'll get into this more, I think, when we do the full sensors, but it has a lot of influence on how I rotate, because I tend to really face the golf ball at impact. I don't really tend to get this way. And I think that's because my arms are coming outwards.
Okay.
It would be a bit of a disaster. So that swing is pretty standard, and we'll show the slow motion of the one we took when we were hitting. It's pulling the club a little inside behind me. Momentum carries me a little bit over and steepens the plane of it a bit. And that's just basically how I swing. If I'm not thinking and I just kind of hit it, that's basically exactly what happens.
That's your swing on autopilot.
And it's not to say that I can't hit good shots. That's not true at all. I can definitely hit good shots, but there's timing required. It has to be really in the zone, and I have to not be tense. I have to be really swinging aggressively. If I start to slow down, which you've seen a million times, if I start to get tentative, it gets off the rails pretty quick.
Okay. Okay, so let's see if we can get you. Let's get your other swing on there. Okay, so here's one of the swings you made doing your drill, Matty. So let's kind of play that and just kind of track what the club was doing in motion. So leave our little plane line on there. One of the things that I noticed pretty early on was you actually, as much as you're working on shallow, and you were taking the club back a little bit steeper on the backswing, which is what most people will try and do. I mean, think of like a Matt Wolf type swing.
Yeah, where
the
he's on the
position he
extreme
gets it into in order to shallow. So you have definitely done that. Was that something you talked about?
So I think it's a byproduct of something else. So Larry was trying to get me to be a little, and we talked about this, me and you, a little flatter with the right wrist.
Yeah.
So when I kind of really get in my bad habits, I tend to kind of do this.
Yes.
And the club face goes way open and I'm almost falling back.
Yeah.
When I feel that the face almost rotates shut and the right wrist gets flat, it actually brings the club up steeper.
Makes sense.
I'm not really thinking about it, but it obviously is happening.
So now you can see you've actually completely reversed the route of the club. So it's now working steeper on the backswing, and here's your transition.
It gets quite a bit more behind and
so
flat.
There we can see that plane. Sorry, skip it back there. Start to see that really shallow at this point.
Right there, which is completely different. So it's, as you said, it's a loop that's the opposite loop. It was in and over before. Now it's kind of over and in. Exactly. Different. And it probably doesn't look as extreme as it feels. When I'm swinging, it feels like the club is going to hit me in the ass on the downswing. Like, it feels crazy.
Yeah, I think if we throw up a swing here, if we throw up both swings, we'll see how extreme it sort of truly is. All right, Matty, so here's basically both swings laid over each other.
Right.
Okay, so we're looking at the blue golf club is the shallow swing.
Yep.
This is the drill.
The drill.
The orange one is the original. Okay, so we're going to roll those two back sort of together. We're going to see them, how they track.
They're already separating quite a bit. I think the tempo is obviously a little bit different, but look at the difference in how low and inside that other one is.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
As we talked about with that blue club, look how much steeper and above this sort of shaft plane. So this is very much sort of the Hogan pane of glass sort of idea what we've got here. So just to give us a plain line, so now we're seeing them separate an awful lot. Blue going steeper, orange going shallower. And the key bit is watching them in transition.
Yeah.
Watch now as they cross.
Do the absolute opposite thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's where that's what you wanted to see.
And if I can just
Absolutely
show you one thing that I found the most interesting was, I think what for me with video analysis, especially when I'm trying to look at my swing and see how I'm doing, I find capturing the same frame to compare is like almost impossible.
Sure.
Whereas this, obviously we can sit here and go as minute as I can. So I think the real test for me is when the club head is at the same height relative to the ground, where is the shaft plane and where's the head?
Yeah.
So that comparison looks, obviously this angle is quite a bit flatter, and the head is physically, like a foot more behind me, whereas this one's moving over.
Yeah, and you guys will see that once we overlay the swing footage, you'll see the difference in that.
Exit point is interesting, a little lower in the follow through, which makes sense. But it's funny, I mean, something that this is actually good for me just in comparing what those swings felt like to what I'm seeing. It lets me know what I need to do in practice.
Of course.
Is I'm not over exaggerating it by any means. I'm basically kind of just barely on track.
Right. Proof in the pudding that what you're working on is really kind of the right thing here.
Yeah, physically.
So inside early on the club head side versus being slightly above the plane, then you're going to shallow and come down, right? So really good stuff into impact. So let's look at what changed.
Yeah, so
this is where we can isolate it.
I think this is the part that'll be interesting to get your take.
Yeah.
What numbers to you are kind of interesting as we go through this?
Well, the first ones, straight away were path. So you went from being sort of inside slightly to being outside slightly.
So more neutral.
Yeah, that tells me that because we can see the club is not certainly coming over the top. It just tells me you're probably rotating slightly better.
I think so too.
So the club being a little bit more behind you is causing your body to get open a little more. Obviously some loft differences from a spin loft perspective.
Yeah, more spin loft?
Yep, a little bit.
Which is good. And I'm always on the low side, so I'm happy to see that actually.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting up on it less.
Up on it less,
which
and
again,
obviously
I'm happy with.
Path is different. So the requirement for where the face points is going to be different. So like we always talk about, sort of the face rotating influences the delivered loft. So you're delivering more loft because your face isn't rotating as much.
It's just more square, being held square.
Yeah, we're really focusing on that. You're talking about stabilizing the club face. We're really looking at sort of the loft in motion higher on the shallowed swings versus lower on the standard swings.
That's interesting.
Yep, this is going to be a really interesting
and I'm actually almost baffled by that because I feel like I'm shutting it in the backswing.
It's the intuitive sort of role the body plays though in controlling the club face. Just the athlete instinct to hold the face to the target more.
Yep.
So the more you swing, in your case, out to sort of the left from in to out, the more you're going to rotate the face. And if we look at this over here, where we look at, there it is. So if you look at the difference in grip roll, standard swing, your average was 1309. So whatever that rate is.
Yeah, we'll have to find out what it doesn't have a metric next to it. I would assume it's some kind of what would that be? A rate of rotation? Yeah, because it's this axis.
I'm not sure if it wouldn't be degrees, but
we'll put that on our learning. Our learning list.
Literally just though the higher value.
Yeah, higher value.
Right, is the difference here. So you're applying more force to the grip in rotation. And that's because you have to.
Yep.
So this is for me going to be something where you're definitely stabilizing your release. Now we're not always focusing now on club head, which I love. We're focusing now on what are the hands doing.
And that's where I feel I get when I'm playing nervous or playing, just kind of inconsistently. Yeah. I feel like everything to do with me hitting it well has to do with how the hands are coming in. If I'm not compensating or timing it well, I'm in trouble.
One thing we will acknowledge as we go through this here, your club head speed was slightly higher with the standard swings than it was with the drill swings, about 2 miles an hour. So it'll be interesting for us to learn how that applied speed affects as the force. Obviously it's going to be higher, so we're not truly apples for apples, but
close.
That's where you had to swing it. I mean, I was actually amazed you were able to swing it as fast as that and make the change.
When I was, so in fairness, I probably made 500-600 drill swings in the
Yeah.
last like 4 days just to get a feel for it.
Right.
When I first started doing it, I probably swung like 10 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then slowly, I mean, I'm not really ready to go up to that speed yet, but for the purposes of just seeing where I am, it's good to see.
Definitely. So these are some of the differences.
It's cool.
And obviously, as a baseline to where you're trying to go and what you're trying to sort of achieve,
Yeah.
this is day one.
Well, and that's the thing. We'll save this. I want to come back and look at it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Hit a few more. We've got some good plans. Once we suit up, there's something you're working on in your swing. I won't give away too much unless people follow you on Instagram, then they probably already know. But
Everything. Working on everything.
Yeah, no, but you have something very specific you're working on that I think the body sensors. I'm really interested in that. The difference between your kind of regular swing and what you feel and relative to what those angles are going to be.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, as you said, this is day one. Get the juices flowing, get the ideas flowing. Hopefully you guys can start putting in the comments the type of stuff you want to see the machine do. We're trying to illustrate partly with this video what it can do so that you guys can say, okay, well, I would be curious what this number is, what this number is. This wasn't really a club fitting video, but there will obviously be tons of those coming.
I mean, I think over time, our job is to use this as a research tool for data capture.
For sure.
And when we get the opportunity to work with certain players, we will be capturing things like, you know, shaft weight. How does that affect the player? What are the differences in sort of a player at slower swing speed when we give them clubs that are too heavy?
True.
What do they do? Do they have to manipulate the club because it is too heavy? What does that then do as a consequence? How does it affect their consistency?
That's a very good point.
All these sorts of things. You know, if we change head weight, does that change shaft deflection? If we go with higher torque shafts versus lower torque shafts, that's where you and I are going to get into
That's where it's gonna
the
get really
belly of the
interesting.
beast with regards to technology like this.
And just when you said that, I know we're not really putting up any metrics, but you kind of looked at this with wide eyes when we first started and said, look at how much, okay, never mind. The difference between, so that orange and blue line, that's center of the shaft.
That's it.
You can see, I know we can't zoom in quite far enough, but the black section there is the actual shaft, the amount that's actually bending forward.
Yeah.
This is impact, obviously. This is at a different point in the swing, the blue one, but even coming into the ball, you can see how much it's moving forward.
In deflection.
It's cool to see that. I know you know that's occurring, but it's different to actually physically see that it's doing it to that degree.
Well, and at a certain point, we're going to learn which types of swings apply more force and deflection than others, and that, you know, when it comes to selecting certain shafts or how we are able to pick the right one versus the wrong one, and there's so much information sort of in here. So. Okay, guys. So hope you were able to hang with us there, and you see the vision for the way we see it, and how we're able to utilize the technology. We sort of appreciate your patience and sort of staying with us as we're getting through the busy part of the season. That's been a challenge as well. Obviously,
it was a process. We we installed it. We are learning how to use it and that kind of stuff. So. Happy it's up and working and we got some numbers and stuff like that. Definitely.
So more on this, more kind of baseline testing, more sort of retesting to be done.
For sure.
Get different clubs on here, and I think as we get sort of better with the system, it'll flow a lot easier.
I agree.
And we'll obviously be able to extract more information. That's the ultimate goal.
For sure.
Excellent. Cool. Okay, guys, appreciate you watching. Leave us your comments with regards to what you want to see. How do you want us to sort of approach it to give you more information, and relative sort of terms, like I said, such as torque and weight and swing weight and all these sorts of fitting and club building.
Right?
Yeah, variables for sure.
All right.
Excellent. Okay, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.